Part 3. The Real Daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 21. Chapter 21 Haunted Mansion. Following adventurer Xiaoying's narration, the barrage immediately joined the discussion. This is a typical example of saying if you don't seek death, you won't die. It's not a good idea to go anywhere. Go to a deserted mansion and a haunted house. It'll be strange if nothing happens to you. Now what? This situation can't be solved by the anchor's calculations, right? Sister Xiaoying, can you watch the live broadcast but not call the police? It's faster to call the police to rescue you than to call the anchor. I looked at the IP address of the anchor's personal homepage, and it seemed to be from Pingcheng. This girl said she was from University F in Pingcheng. Does that mean they are in the same city? The anchor said there is resentment. Will the girl be in danger? Adventurer Xiaoying saw the question on the barrage and explained with tears. I was so panicked at the time that I didn't even think of calling the police. And I am sure that I must have bumped into something unclean at this time. I can only find people from Suanmen, and King Zhu Immortal Lord is my only connection. Netizens, what a God's only connection. This girl is in such a dangerous situation, but she still doesn't forget to be funny, which is enough. Pei Anzu ignored the barrage and said directly to adventurer Xiaoying. The resentment around you seems to be strong, but it doesn't seem to be hurting you so far, so you stay where you are and don't run around. Tell me the address of the haunted house and I will rush over right away. Also, don't hang up during the live broadcast. I'll change my phone to connect with you. I must know your situation at any time. Adventurer Xiaoying nodded hurriedly and said. The abandoned mansion is located in the west of Pingcheng, in the innermost alley of Longkong 2nd Road, Wenchang Street. The house number is 144. It is an independent old-fashioned house. Pei Anzu estimated the distance and said. I'll be there in 40 minutes. After saying this, she switched to the live broadcast on her mobile phone, took her car keys, put her tool bag on her back, went straight out the door, and drove the car towards the haunted house. In the live broadcast room, when the audience saw that Pei Anzu did not speak, they took the initiative to type and chat with adventurer Xiaoying, telling her jokes to ease her fear and nervousness. With the company of the audience, Xiaoying gradually became less scared. Pei Anzu's driving skills became more and more proficient, and he drove very fast and smoothly along the way. Because she was doing fortune-telling while driving, she chose routes with the least amount of traffic and no traffic jams, and she didn't even encounter a red light. 34 minutes later, Pei Anzu arrived at his destination. The alley at Longkong 2nd Road on Wenchang Street was not wide enough for vehicles to drive in. She could only park the car at the entrance of the alley and trot in. This is a very old alley, a bit like an old hutong. But it is obvious that this place is desolate. Entering an alley, the doors and windows of every house are broken, and the bricks and tiles are collapsed. It seems that no one has lived there for a long time. In the live broadcast room, there are Pingcheng locals who know this place well and give everyone popular science. This area of Wenchang Street and Longkong Road was once a wealthy area. The houses here are all Western-style ancient buildings handed down from the old times. Most of them are small 3-story Western-style buildings with gardens, which are very grand. Those who have this kind of property at home must have ancestors who were either rich or noble, and their ancestors must have never been ruined or destroyed even after going through wars. After the arrival of the new era, this place became a symbol of power and status. In the years when the domestic economy developed most rapidly, many wealthy businessmen who came to Pingcheng to do business were proud to own a property on Wenchang Street. But just 20 years ago, something happened here. A family of 5 living in house number 144 died mysteriously one night, and the death was miserable. The wounds on their bodies looked strange and did not look like they were caused by human tools. But what is surprising is that the people living nearby did not hear anything unusual that night. Since then, there have been some strange rumors on Longkong Second Road. It is said that number 144 did something bad and evil spirits came to seek revenge. Some said that they provoked something they shouldn't have provoked and died unexpectedly. If it were just a rumor, that would be fine, but then many strange things happened. First, the hostess of a family saw a strange figure appearing in house number 144 at night. The figure was wearing red clothes and seemed to be dripping with blood. Following that, in house number 144, the sound of singing would often be heard in the middle of the night, singing the kind of opera that actors on stage were used to in the old days. Later, there were families with cats and dogs, and these pets went crazy one after another, biting their owners and passers-by. There were even many couples who were originally in love, quarreled every day, and even wanted to kill each other with knives. There are more and more strange things happening, and many people can no longer live here, so they gradually move away. Longkong Second Road immediately became empty. Later, a developer took a fancy to this place and wanted to buy the entire ancient building complex and turn it into a tourist attraction. The price had already been negotiated, but nothing happened. I heard that the developer went crazy after returning. Since then, no one has been to this place. Over time, the Wenchang Street and Longkong Road area has become a famous forbidden area for deserted houses and haunted houses in Pingcheng, and the folk rumors are more and more outrageous. But people cherish their lives, and few are willing to set foot in this place. In recent years, with the rise of the live streaming industry, many adventure anchors and ghost-finding anchors have chosen this place as a gimmick to increase their viewing pleasure. But without exception, the equipment failed halfway through the live broadcast. No one knows what happened. They only know that all the anchors who have been here have disappeared from the live broadcast industry since then. Some people said they were killed by the ghosts here, while others said they changed careers. In short, this place is becoming more and more dangerous and mysterious. Until this time, students from the Adventure Club of Pingcheng F University were in danger here and entered Pei Anzu's live broadcast room by chance. Only then did the situation here reveal the tip of the iceberg. The viewers in the live broadcast room were a little worried after seeing these popular sciences. The equipment of the previous anchors would malfunction here. Will it not be the same this time? No. I want to see the live version. I still don't think it's true. Is this a gimmick created by the Pingcheng Tourism Development Bureau to attract tourists from other places? Are you thinking too much upstairs? Then how do you explain that adventurer Xiaoying's mobile live broadcast has not been interrupted so far? How could I know? You can ask Fairy Kingzu later and she will explain. While there was a lot of discussion on the barrage, Pei Anzu was already standing at the gate of number 144. It has been exactly 40 minutes since she set off. What appeared in front of Pei Anzu was a 3-story small foreign-style building with a vermilion door. The lock on the door had been damaged, and it was obvious that it had been pried open. I don't know whether the person who picked the lock was the previous ghost-detecting anchor or the group of students inside. Pei Anzu opened the door and walked in. As soon as he stepped into the courtyard, a huge wave of resentment rushed towards his face. Black shadows transformed into a human face in mid-air, roaring at Pei Anzu. A Taoist man, excellent tonic. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 22. Chapter 22 Hardcore Anchor Beats Up Ghosts Online. In order to keep abreast of the situation of adventurer Xiaoying, Pei Anzu kept holding up his mobile phone. Hence, that big face made of huge resentment, with a thundering sense of oppression, attacked the people in the live broadcast room. Grass. Ghost. I am the one who loves you. This is the first time in my life that I have seen a ghost. Mom, help. Woohoo, so scary. This thing doesn't look simple. Will the anchor be okay? Before, I want to see the live version. Now, sorry, I can't watch it. Anchor, run away. You have such thin arms and legs, I feel like you are no match for it. Adventurer Xiaoying also saw this scene. She huddled in the corner, her body was shaking even more, and her face had no trace of blood and was extremely pale. Had it not been confirmed that she was still alive, she would have seamlessly joined the ghost group in this house. King Zhu, immortal lord, what should I do? She cried. I'm sorry, it was me who harmed you. We risked our lives to come here to explore, but we have to drag you down. Pei Anzu concentrated and held his breath, used the King's In Sutra technique again, and said. Why are you panicking? It's just a grudge, what can you do to me? Listen to me obediently and stay where you are. When I solve the problem, I will naturally go find you. Don't worry, you will be fine as long as I am here. Her voice has the effect of invigorating and calming the mind, soothing adventurer Xiaoying's mood. The audience in the live broadcast room was stunned by Pei Anzu's arrogant tone. People are confused. The anchor looks so young. Even if he has some skills, he probably hasn't studied for many years, right? Can she really deal with this so-called resentful ghost? Amidst everyone's curious eyes, Pei Anzu's movements were unhurried and slow. She put down her backpack, took out a bunch of painted talismans, put it into her pocket, and then threw her cell phone on the backpack so that it would not get in the way. The mobile phone is leaning against the backpack at the right angle. The camera was able to capture the resentful ghost's big face and Pei Anzu's slender but straight back. The resentful ghost seemed to have seen Pei Anzu's mobile phone, and smiled wildly. Have all the people in Suanmen fallen to such a low level now? Are they still relying on this method to attract believers? Little girl, since you have entered this gate today, don't even think about going out. The people in Suanmen are full of energy, so stay here and be my food. As soon as he finished speaking, the resentful ghost turned into a ball of resentment and rushed directly towards Pei Anzu. Pei Anzu turned sideways to avoid its first blow, turned around and casually left a branch about 3 feet long on the dead tree in the yard. Subsequently, with a stern look in her eyes, she advanced instead of retreating, and faced the resentful ghost. You are too arrogant. Do you really think that a mere tree branch can hurt me? The Suanman has long since declined, and you can't do anything to me. The resentful ghost said mockingly and continued to rush toward Pei Anzu. It did not dodge or avoid, and went straight to meet the branch. It didn't pay attention to this thing at all, but who knew the next second, a burst of severe pain hit it, causing it to scream. Ah dash! How come? It's just an ordinary branch. It's neither a peach tree nor a willow branch, nor a lightning strike tree. How could it hurt so much? Who is this little girl from Suanmen? With this thought in mind, he couldn't help but ask. Pei Anzu sneered, and without stopping, he pulled out a branch. Who am I? I am your ancestor. That branch seems to have eyes, and it looks messy, but no matter how hard the resentful ghost hides, it can always be hit and scream. So next, the audience in the live broadcast room saw a one-sided, crushing beating, which was horrific and cruel. When my aunt became famous in Suanmen, I'm afraid you were still waiting to be reincarnated on the wheel. Ah, the resentful ghost screamed. You dare to look down on me, you dare to use me as food or supplements, you really have a belly button on your back, you're outrageous. Ah, the resentful ghost screamed again. Look at your big face, so dark that people and gods are angry, and so ugly in a unique way. I really want to spit a big mouthful of sticky phlegm on your face and put a facial mask on you. Ah, the resentful ghost screamed again. Are you great? You're a little with a feather duster, why are you pretending to be a big-tailed wolf? Ah, the resentful ghost continued to scream. You keep shouting. You keep being awesome. You keep being arrogant. Why don't you speak? Weren't you still very arrogant just now? Ah. Let me see who was beaten so badly, it's you, poor little boy. Grudge. I'm in so much pain that I can't speak. Can't you see? Audiences. What a great review. Hardcore anchor, beat up ghosts online. She not only beats up ghosts physically, but also launches mental attacks. That set of words is like a knife, stabbing directly into the heart of the resentful ghost, beating the resentful ghost to the point of despair. Payan pulled down a few branches of the bamboo, directly dispersing 90% of the huge, pitch-black resentment on the resentful ghost's body, and the resentment gradually became transparent. The resentful ghost instantly transformed from a dark and ugly figure into a delicate and beautiful woman in red. Seeing this, Pei Anzu stopped. That's right, it's not your fault that you look ugly, it's your fault that you come out to scare people. I'm young and can't stand being scared. Just talk to me like this and tell me why you want to stay here and harm others. Grudge. Audiences. There is not a single word of truth in this Dogecoin anchor's mouth. Who just claimed to be the great aunt? Are you saying you are young now? Modan, do you think they are easy to fool? The resentful ghost's eyes looked at Pei Anzu, full of fear. She looked at the ordinary branch in the other person's hand and did not dare to be presumptuous anymore. Since there is no problem with the branches, there must be a problem with Pei Anzu. This is definitely a trump card secretly cultivated by Suanman. At such a young age, she has such a level of cultivation. Just using an ordinary tree branch can destroy 90% of her century-old level of cultivation. Why did she encounter such a difficult situation? Pei Anzu's patience was limited. Seeing that the resentful ghost didn't speak for a long time, he raised a branch and pointed it at her. Do you still want to be beaten? The resentful ghost in red suddenly made a plop and knelt down. Master, spare your life. I will never dare to do it again. Please spare my life, Master, and don't let me lose my soul. I really didn't mean to harm anyone, please. Pei Anzu was unmoved after hearing these pleas. She can be kind and soft-hearted, but she will never be a holy mother, let alone feel pity for a resentful ghost who has killed many lives. No matter whether this resentful ghost has hard intentions or not, it is a fact that it harms people. Her difficulties cannot offset her fault. So, Pei Anzu said. First let out the students who came to explore the house today. As for your difficulties, tell me in detail later. Right and wrong, merit and sin, you must listen to them before you can judge. The resentful ghost in red nodded, waved his sleeves, and 6 people soon appeared in the yard. It was adventurer Xiaoying and his group of students. There were 4 men and 2 women in total. The others were unconscious, but adventurer Xiaoying was the only one who was awake. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. This is another price. As soon as adventurer Xiaoying appeared, she ran to Pei Anzu and cowered. Even though Pei Anzu is wearing a very scary Nyo mask. But in the eyes of adventurer Xiaoying, this mask is 1,000 times more friendly than the handsome-faced resentful ghost in red. Pei Anzu glanced at Xiaoying and suddenly realized. No wonder you were not harmed and were able to stay awake until I came. It turns out you have a very powerful amulet on your body. Amulet? Xiaoying was confused. Pei Anzu pointed to the jade pendant around her neck and explained. This is a good thing. It has been blessed by an eminent monk. There are traces of Buddhist magic on it. If you wear this, the evil spirits will naturally not be able to get close to you. The audience in the live broadcast room also understood. No wonder the equipment of the previous ghost detecting anchor failed when he arrived here, but adventurer Xiaoying was safe and sound. It turned out to be all because of this piece of jade. Now it seems that she is also lucky. Not only was he protected by the amulet, but he also happened to click into Kingzu Immortal's live broadcast room, and he was in the same city as Kingzu Immortal. All kinds of coincidences combined to save her. Adventurer Xiaoying holds the jade pendant, showing a hint of joy of surviving the disaster. This is a relic given to me by my grandma when I was a child. I always thought it was ugly and refused to wear it. Later, when I grew up and understood the meaning of separation between life and death, my longing for my grandma took over, so I wore it close to my body. I didn't expect it to be able to save my life. It can be regarded as my grandma's spirit in heaven, protecting me. Pei Anzu nodded and said. But the jade pendant has protected you this time, and there are already slight cracks. There is nothing wrong with an ordinary amulet. If you encounter something as powerful as this red-clothed ghost again, it will protect you for at most 2 more times before it will completely shatter. What should we do? Adventurer Xiaoying was anxious. I can fix it, but... Another price? I understand, Xiaoying immediately responded, I'll pay for it, please help me fix it. Pei Anzu agreed and then said. Okay, there's nothing else for you to do here, the rest is beyond your control. Take your classmates and leave quickly. Remember, don't go to these weird places again. Not every time you can find someone to save your life. I know, I will never go there again. Adventurer Xiaoying nodded immediately. When I go back, I will quit the adventure club. After saying this, she was about to leave, but when she saw her classmate still lying on the ground, she suddenly looked at Pei Anzu in embarrassment. As a result, Pei Anzu raised the branch and pointed at the resentful ghost in red. Why are you like a toad? You only move after being poked. Do you still need me to teach you what to do next? The resentful ghost in red dares to be angry but dare not speak out. With a slumped face, she used her little remaining cultivation to wake up the group of people. Then she waved her sleeves, rolled up a gust of wind, and sent the 6 of them directly to the alley entrance of Longkong Second Road. The house suddenly became empty. Pei Anzu walked to the side, picked up his backpack and mobile phone, and said to the audience in the live broadcast room. Today's 3 hexagrams have been completed. Thank you all for your support. See you next time. Ah, don't download it. Anchor, I want to continue watching. I'm still waiting to hear the female ghost tell a story. Host, don't make me kneel down to beg you. Damn, isn't it just a reward? I'm out, keep playing. Kingzu Immortal is a kind-hearted person, please satisfy our curiosity, okay. The barrage was full of reluctance and retention. Everyone wanted to hear the story behind the resentful ghost in red, but Pei Anzu remained unmoved. It's not a good thing to see ghosts. There are inherent barriers between the realms of yin and yang. Living people cannot see ghosts, and ghosts cannot approach people. If you break barriers and break boundaries frequently, a living person will lose his yang energy, which may cause bad luck at best, or endanger his life at worst. I won't let you see it. It's for your own good. If you want to know what happens next, watch the news in a few days. After saying this, Pei Anzu turned off the live broadcast without hesitation. She went to listen to the resentful ghost in red narrate the past events, but she didn't know that today's live broadcast once again caused an uproar on the internet. A netizen took a screenshot of the scene where Pei Anzu beat up the ghost and posted it on Weibo. This netizen's name is Joke Porter. Just like his name, he collects fun and funny jokes and videos everywhere and posts them to his account. With his joyful and playful style, he has accumulated hundreds of thousands of fans. The last time Pei Anzu live-streamed his confrontation with Hiza, he excerpted it and moved it, which made Pei Anzu's live-streaming room attract more people's attention. He keenly caught the highlights of the live broadcast room of Kingzu Immortal Lord and stayed there for a long time, finally allowing him to obtain interesting material again. Psychic and physical double attack hashtag. Ha 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 made me laugh. This female ghost is so miserable. Have sympathy for her for a second. It's not as funny as you said, so I've only watched it a million times. This was originally a supernatural horror episode, but it made me laugh so hard that I couldn't breathe. I threw up from laughing. Anchor, please pay me. Female ghost, I shouldn't have appeared. I've watched several videos about this anchor, and I still admire her strong language reserve. Where did she get so many idioms? Guiding Dolphin live broadcast platform, there is a full version. As the popularity grew, the video was viewed by millions of people in a short period of time, and some of them went to the Dolphin live streaming platform out of curiosity. Suddenly it brought another wave of traffic to the platform, and at the same time, Pei Enzu's own number of fans surged. At the same time, at the entrance of Longkong's Second Road Alley, adventurer Xiaoying, that is, the girl whose real name is Zhou Ying, stood there with several of her classmates, looking at each other. Looking at the confused expressions of the others, she asked, "Do you remember what happened?" Song Jiakai, the president of the Adventure Club, touched his head. "I remember we went exploring the deserted house. Not long after we entered, we lost consciousness. When we woke up again, we were standing at the entrance of the alley. I remember I seemed to see a black mist." Lin Kong, another boy, said, "That house is too evil, we'd better leave quickly." Another girl in the team, named Tang Shishi, said disdainfully, "You don't really believe the legend about that house, do you? It's just a lie spread by the locals. There must be someone else in that house." He was afraid that we would discover his secret, so he knocked us unconscious and moved us to the entrance of the alley, giving us a weird illusion. Wang Jun agreed with Tang Shishi and said, "That's right, where are the gods and ghosts in this world? It's just to scare yourself. We came all the way and didn't find anything. Wouldn't it be a shame to just go back like this? I decided to go explore again. Do you want to come with me?" The last person is Song Xiankan. He is Song Jiakai's cousin and has not expressed his position. Zhou Ying glanced at this group of people and said, "Please read something first. If you still insist on going back after reading it, I will never stop you." End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. The Past of the Resentful Ghost. Zhou Ying clicked on the live replay of Kingzu Immortal Lord. 10 minutes later, the group of people began to look pale and sweat profusely. Tang Shishi, who had been shouting in disbelief, could hardly stand still. 20 minutes later, Song Jiakai turned off Zhou Ying's phone with trembling hands and swallowed. "Let's go, let's go." When you arrive, you are full of enthusiasm and energy, but when you leave, you are confused and embarrassed. At this moment, I looked back at the alley behind me. It was gloomy, like the open mouth of a resentful ghost, as if it was going to swallow them up in the next second. Disbanding the Adventure Club has been put on their agenda. In the courtyard number 144 at the end of the alley, Pei Enzu was already chatting with the resentful ghost in red. She was sitting on the stone steps at the door, still holding the branch in her hand. "Tell me your story." The resentful ghost in red didn't dare to resist. He squatted not far away but 2 meters away from Pei Enzu. He was shy, timid, and well-behaved, but he didn't look as arrogant as before. She pursed her lips, cleared her thoughts, and said, "My name is Kaiyulian, and she was an actress 100 years ago. Kaiyulian is an orphan. She had no father or mother, and was sold to a wealthy family as a maid to survive. Later, when the war broke out, the employer moved his family and did not need so many servants, so he fired Kaiyulian and stayed in Pingcheng. This year, Kaiyulian was 18 years old. The war was raging and the world was in chaos. Just when Kaiyulian felt that she was about to die, she met the Hongyu troupe, a very famous theater troupe at the time, and was accepted as an apprentice by the troupe leader Hongyu. The leader of Red Moon is a good person. He took in many orphans who were displaced during the war, took care of them, cultivated them, and provided them with shelter. In this way, Kayulian settled down in Hangyu class. She learned to sing every day, made tea and water for her master, helped her brothers and sisters organize their makeup, and occasionally sang a small role on stage. She lived a relatively stable life. Until one day, she met a young man named He Huimin. He Huimin is gentle and handsome, and rich in gold. I heard that he returned from studying abroad. He is both knowledgeable and literary. He is described as a gentle and elegant young man, and a handsome young man. What's even more rare is that he is also an avid opera lover. Since returning to China, I have basically come to watch the performances of the Red Moon class every day. For some reason, he fell in love with Kayulian. According to his own words, he fell in love with Kayulian at first sight, and then used various romantic means to pursue her, including sending flowers and jewelry, buying clothes and perfume. He made Kayulian feel the feeling of being held in someone's hand and loved. So Kayulian fell. She begged Hangyu to let her leave, and ignored Hangyu's warnings, and left with He Huimin, thinking that she could live a good life as a husband and a child. I didn't expect that. He Huimin only provokes me because I look like his father's third concubine. Kayulian mentioned this matter, and her resentment became more intense. My appearance is very similar to that of my third concubine. If you add the clothes, it will be very similar. He Huimin and his father's third concubine were originally a pair of devoted lovers. As it turned out, while He Huimin was studying abroad, his father fell in love with the girl, and with the help of family power, he took her away and married her into a third concubine. When He Huimin came back, he discovered that his former lover had become his baby mother. He was both painful and unwilling. Due to family rules and ethics, he struggled to endure his feelings. However, the more he tolerated his feelings, the deeper they became. Finally one day, he and his third concubine broke through the restricted area, tasted the forbidden fruit, and did the dirty work. After this incident, He Huimin desperately wanted to stay with his third concubine for the rest of his life. Just when they were trying their best to be together, He Huimin met Qiu Lian, who looked similar to his third aunt, in the theater troupe, and a bold idea came to him. He pretended to pursue Kayulian, making Kayulian devoted to him. He lied that he wanted to marry Kayulian, but also said that his father would not allow him to marry an actor, so he placed Kayulian alone in a house outside. From then on, he trained Kayulian to be the third concubine. Qiu Lian likes blue clothes and elegant makeup, but he praised Qiu Lian for looking good in a water-red cheongsam and bright red rouge. So Kayulian dressed in colorful clothes and put on heavy makeup in order to make him happy. As time went by, Qiu Lian became more and more similar to the third aunt. Whether it was their faces or their clothes, if you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference at all. When the time was right, He Huimin asked his third concubine to poison his father's tea. Immediately afterwards, a trick came to change the situation. Qiu Lian was regarded as the third concubine who murdered the family head. She was arrested by the police station, sentenced to hanging, and executed in public at Keishikao. But the third concubine suddenly transformed into Kayulian, the actor who was raised by He Huimin outside. They even used the excuse that their father was dead and did not want to stay in this sad place anymore. They sold their property, raised money, left Pingchang, and went to other places to stay and fly together. Only an empty house and an innocent scapegoat were left. After Kayulian's death, her resentment was hard to dissipate and her soul remained. In addition, it was a time of war, and countless people died every day. The underworld was simply too busy, and black and white impermanence also made some omissions, allowing Qiu Lian to take advantage of it. She hid in the old house of the He family and has been lurking, intending to take revenge. That house is now number 144, Longkong 2nd Road. At the beginning, Kayulian's ghost was still very weak. With no one to offer her incense and paper, She had to go out to find food and compete with thousands of dead souls outside to barely maintain her human form. Later, she accidentally swallowed an imp during the fight. Qiulian was transformed by the resentment of an innocent and wasted death, and she had a deep obsession in her heart. She was originally stronger than ordinary ghosts, but she had never discovered her potential before. After swallowing the imp by mistake, she found that her strength had increased and her soul became more solid. She found a way to become stronger and began to devour other ghosts. Later, the war ended, there were not so many ghosts, and order was restored in the underworld. Many of the dead were directly taken away by the ghosts, and she lost her food source. So, she thought about starting to attack living people. At this time, the descendants of He Huimin came back with their wives and children. After He Huimin and his third concubine left Pingcheng, they lived a carefree life incognito in other places. Later, they gave birth to a son named He Niankai. The reason why I chose this name is because the third concubine's name has the word Qi in it. The three characters He Niankai represent the magnificent, twists and turns, but unswerving love between He Huimin and his third concubine. But they forget that there is an innocent person in their love from beginning to end. 20 years ago, He Niankai was 78 years old. He took his son, daughter-in-law, grandson, and grandson-in-law back to Pingcheng, hoping to return to his roots here and return to his hometown. And this was the beginning of the mysterious deaths of the family of 5. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 25. Chapter 25 Treat you to a good meal. Qiulian died innocently, and she hated He Huimin deeply. But she could no longer find He Huimin himself, so she could only attack his descendants to avenge the deception and death. She originally wanted to keep He Niankai's family and torture them slowly. Rather than letting them die so easily, it would be better to let them live in fear all day long, unable to survive or die. I didn't expect that. They actually want to write a book about He Huimin and the third aunt, that bitch, praising their great love, Qiulian said, her resentment getting stronger. Qiulian was hiding in this house and heard the 5 members of the He family discussing how to publish a book. The book will portray He Huimin as a humble gentleman. It is said that he returned from abroad, was an equal-minded man, had no family background, and was willing to marry an actor, and they would be a couple for the rest of their lives. It is said that he cared about his country and the common people. After his father's death, he sold his property, traveled across the ocean to do business, and donated countless funds and military supplies to the frontline soldiers. The third concubine must also be molded into He Huimin's virtuous wife. She is said to be gentle, considerate, and aware of the general situation, sober, firm and powerful. It is said that although she is a daughter, she has a far-reaching vision, supports all her husband's decisions, and accompanies her husband in his wanderings. He also said that she holds a long sword in her mandarin duck sleeves and is a hero among women and a heroine. The most important thing is that the He family decided to follow He Huimin's will and rectify the third aunt's name in the book, restoring her original name to Yuzaoki. They want the world to know. It is Yuzaoki who has a deep love for He Huimin and his wife, it is Yuzaoki who accompanies He Huimin until his old age, it is Yuzaoki who accepts praise and commemoration with He Huimin. As for Qiulian, it was just a stage name given by Yuzaoki when she accidentally joined a theater troupe when she was young. With a single word, Qiulian's existence was wiped out. They took advantage of the changing times and the people who knew the inside story were all dead. They wantonly confused right and wrong, and turned the 2 murderers who poisoned their father and killed innocent people into admirable national entrepreneurs. If such a book were spread, the world would be deceived. The final result is that the He family has soared to the top, but she can only become a handful of Lois in the field 100 years ago. No one knows, no one complains. How could Qiulian not hate this? Don't complain? So she became furious and killed 5 members of the He family to test whether she could feed on living people. It turns out that she can't directly feed on living people, but she can kill humans, and then use her resentment to create an independent space that is isolated from Yin Zhan's investigation, and devour the soul of the other person. 5 members of the He family died mysteriously. From then on, there was a strange legend on Longkong Second Road. What happened next was simple. Eating ghosts and killing living people are 2 different concepts. After killing someone, Kaiyulian's hands were stained with blood, which aroused her ferocity. Her resentment became more and more uncontrollable, and gradually spread to places outside 144, affecting the magnetic field of the entire alley. Causes dogs and cats to go crazy, and people have mood swings, irritability. The rumors about the uncleanness here became more and more widespread, so the families living here slowly moved away, and the alley gradually became empty. Until the developers arrive. Kaiyulian, who had been hungry for a long time, couldn't restrain herself. She killed one of his assistants in front of the developer and devoured the assistant's soul, which frightened the developer crazy. Since then, the alley has become more deserted, and the stories here have become more mysterious. Where are the anchors who have been here before? Pei Anzu asked. Kill and swallow. Kaiyulian lowered her head and answered concisely. Hearing this, Pei Anzu stood up, put the branch in his hand on the ground, and said calmly. You were stigmatized and died unjustly. I can understand your resentment and hatred. But there is always a debtor who owes the debt, and the ones you should really take revenge on are He Huimin and the 3rd concubine. If you can't find them, you should go to the underworld in time and state your grievances to the King of Hell of the 10th Palace, and the underworld will naturally make the decision for you. If what you say is proven to be true, He Huimin and his 3rd concubine will be judged after they die and enter the underworld. They will be sent to the 18th level to serve their sentences according to their crimes. They must complete their sentences before they can be reincarnated. But you stayed in the world privately, devoured ghosts, killed countless innocent souls' opportunities to be reincarnated, and even poisoned living people. This act is a heinous crime. In fact, it is not that Pei Anzu cannot understand Kaiyulian's pain. Therefore, even if Kaiyulian's attack on the descendants of the He family was a bit cruel, she could still regard it as reasonable, and explained it with the saying the father's debt must be paid by the son. It's a pity that Kaiyulian couldn't suppress her ferocious nature and killed many innocent people. The developer's assistant, later the anchor, and the occasional passers-by who passed by this alley, all became Qiu Lian's food without exception. This debt must also be accounted for. Just because she died unjustly cannot be written off. Master, do you want to punish me? Kaiyulian cried uncontrollably. I know that I am no match for the master. I have worked hard to accumulate hundreds of years of cultivation, but I can't survive a few whips in the hands of the master. If the master thinks that I am guilty, I want to. If my soul is driven to pieces, I will admit it. Pei Anzu frowned and couldn't help but say. You are not a round worm in my belly, why do you have to guess my intentions? Am I like the kind of person who doesn't know right from wrong, good from evil? When did I ever say something that would drive you to pieces? Aren't you just making up your own mind? The master means, hope lit up in Kaiyulian's eyes. Open the gate of and send you to the underworld. Pei Anzu said, I am a metaphysician, not the king of hell. It is not my place to judge your right and wrong. When you get to the underworld, if you have any grudges or grievances, I will wait for you. After realizing the cause and effect in this life, your final destination will be determined based on your merits and demerits during your lifetime. She killed an innocent person and must go to one of the 18 levels to be punished. The underworld has its own set of judgment standards. After the punishment, it will decide whether she will be reincarnated as a human or an animal in her next life based on her sins. Qiu Lian knew that she couldn't escape, and since she was defeated by Pei Anzu, she never thought about escaping. She has been here for hundreds of years. Even though she has killed so many people, the hatred in her heart still cannot be relieved. After all, these people are not the direct murderers of her death. So, she is willing to follow Pei Anzu's arrangement and go to the underworld. Are you going now? The gate of cannot be opened at any time, you have to choose the time. Pei Anzu said, it's not dark yet, just wait until nightfall. Just wait, Kaiyulian asked. You're right. It's too boring to wait. It's almost time for dinner. Let me order takeout, Pei Anzu said seriously. Autumn Lotus. That was not what I meant. I mean, master, if you have other things to do, you can go and do your work first. I will definitely not run away. As a result, Pei Anzu actually took out his mobile phone, opened the takeout app, and started choosing with great interest. While choosing, he asked, since you are going to the underworld soon, I'll treat you to a nice meal. No one has given you sacrifices for 100 years. You must have not eaten good food for a long time. I will let you experience it today. How about fried chicken and milk tea, and grilled skewers? Perfect. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Real Daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 26. Chapter 26, Opening the Door to Hell. Pei Anzu is considered a wealthy person now, so she can still afford a takeaway meal, so she orders a bunch of them. Half an hour later, the delivery rider called Pei Anzu, and the other person's voice was trembling. Hello, is this Ms. Pei? It's me, Pei Anzu replied. Is your address really correct? Isn't that street of Longkong 2nd Road uninhabited? The rider swallowed nervously. Oh, yes, no one lives there, but my classmates and I came here to explore. Now we are hungry, so we ordered takeout, Pei Anzu said. You can just deliver it here. It will be fine. She borrowed the reason from adventurer Xiaoying. The rider wandered around the entrance of the alley several times. When he heard that the voice on the phone did not sound like a ghost, he gritted his teeth and went in. Reaching the door of number 144, he knocked on the door. Hello, the takeaway is here. The next second, the door opened. The person who opened the door was a classical beauty wearing a red cheongsam. The other person smiled at him. Thank you, little brother rider. No, you're welcome. The rider was a little embarrassed, but also smiled, handed her the takeaway, and turned around to leave. When he walked out of the alley, he realized belatedly that the beauty in red who took the takeaway seemed to be floating. Oh my God! There's a ghost. Since then, there has been another legend about house number 144 in the city. There lives a female ghost in red named Pei who can order takeout. At the house, Pei Anzu got the takeout and didn't eat it in a hurry. Instead, he gave it to Kaiyulian first. There is also a certain etiquette in offering offerings to the deceased. When an ordinary person dies, relatives and friends will build a tomb and erect a monument, write the name and the year of birth and death, and make an offering in front of the tomb so that it can be delivered to the other party in the right way. But for people like Kaiyulian who died in vain, they have no tombs or monuments, and they don't even know where their bodies were thrown. If they want to receive sacrifices from living people, they can only do it through Suanmen. Methodists in Taoism communicate with the two realms of yin and yang, and have their own way of delivering sacrifices one-to-one. If an offering is offered casually, it will be regarded as a sacrifice without an owner. This will easily attract other lonely ghosts to rob it, just like Kaiyulian once went out to compete with other ghosts for food. Pei Anzu took out the talisman from his pocket and set up a mini offering formation. The food is then placed in the middle of the talisman formation, and finally the talisman is lit, and a few more tricks are performed to establish the connection between Kaiyulian and these foods. Okay, let's eat, Pei Anzu said, taking the skewers and eating them. Qiulian has not eaten human food for 100 years. She looked at the things in her hands, smelled the fragrance that kept coming, and followed Pei Anzu's example, taking a skewer and stuffing it into her mouth. The fat and lean pork belly is grilled neither too old nor too tender, just right. The aroma of cumin fills the entire tip of the nose. Eating a bite of barbecue, another sip of milk tea, and a piece of fried chicken. The delicious food made her feel a strong sense of satisfaction. Whoa, so delicious. Qiulian was moved to tears. I have never eaten such delicious food when I was alive. I never expected that I could still receive such treatment after being dead for more than 100 years. Master Pei, thank you. Qiulian heard the rider's call just now and knew that this young, masked, mysterious Suanman master, her surname was Pei. By the time they finished eating, it was already dark. On the ground in the yard, there were garbage left by Pei Anzu after eating, including chicken bones, skewers, milk teacups, etc. As for the middle of the talisman formation, the food seems to be intact, but in fact all the color, fragrance have been sucked away by the autumn lotus. If you look carefully, you can also find that these foods have a faint tendency to turn black. This is because tributes that have been touched by ghosts are more likely to rot. Pei Anzu looked up at the sky and found that there was no moon tonight and the yin energy was a bit stronger than usual. It was a good time to open the ghost gate. The time is up, get ready to leave. Pei Anzu said, send you away early, and we will go home early. It will be unsafe for girls to go back too late. Autumn Lotus. You can even beat a century-old grudge to the point where you cry for your father and mother, so why are you still afraid of being unsafe? If a bad guy really encounters you, he's probably going to want to die and be reincarnated on the spot, right? Pei Anzu ignored what Qiulian was thinking. She was already preparing to open the door to hell. First took out a small incense burner and 3 pillars of incense from the bag, and set up a simple incense table on the spot. Then he used 2 talismans for summoning yin, lit them, and burned them. Pei Anzu, the 36th generation disciple of Suanman, please open the ghost gate. With her call, a dark wind suddenly rose in the entire alley, and a thick fog spread from all sides, covering the sky and the sun, covering the sky above the alley. In an instant, this place was isolated by powerful ghosts and formed an independent space. Qiulian felt a huge force, more terrifying than the most powerful ghost king she had seen in the past 100 years, attacking her with heavy pressure. She couldn't stand firmly and knelt down. A few seconds later, a door appeared out of thin air in the yard. There are 3 big characters written on it, the gate of is closed. The garden of house number 144 is not very big, but the ghost gate is so huge that it seems that you can't even see the edge of it when you look at it horizontally or vertically. Qiulian knew that this place might no longer be a human world. In front of the ghost gate, there are 2 figures, black and white. They hold the soul hook in their hands and flow towards Pei Anzu, who opens the gate of and summons the yin chai. The yin chai in black clothes asked. Pei Anzu subconsciously looked at their hats, frowned and asked, aren't you black and white and impermanent? She is an old acquaintance with black and white Vuchain, and has had many interactions with him in the past. Hey, Vuchain Fanwuju wears a black robe and a tall black hat with the words peace in the world written on the hat. Bai Vuchain Xiebian wears a white robe and a white hat with the words wealth at first sight written on the hat. As for the 2 yin chai in front of them, although they are dressed similarly to the black and white Vuchain, they do not have the iconic 4 characters on their hats. Harkyan Shah opened his mouth and said, how come cats and dogs can see our master Wu Chang, Jr., why did you summon the yin messenger, why don't you tell me quickly? Pei Anzu has never been so despised by anyone since he entered Suanman. Ha! When did you become the underworld's villains? Pei Anzu laughed angrily, how dare you yell at a metaphysician who can easily open the door to hell? Underworld and Suanman have always had a friendly and mutually supportive relationship. The evil spirits in the world that the underworld cannot control still need the help of the Suanman master to catch them. So in the era of Pei Anzu's previous life, all the underworld masters were respectful when they encountered capable metaphysicians. These two shady men must be new recruits, and they don't look very smart. Pei Anzu is worried about leaving Kaiyulian in their hands. So she formed a seal with her hands and drew a talisman in the air. A golden light flashed through and entered the ghost gate. The two yin difference were shocked. What do you want to do? Pei Anzu ignored them and shouted directly at the ghost gate. Fanwuju, Xiebian. Auntie, I'm back, come see me quickly. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 27. Chapter 27 Black and White Impermanence. How dare you, this junior, call Master Wu Chang by his first name? Yin Chai was furious and looked at Pei Anzu with a stern look in his eyes. At this time, the underworld is in the hall of the King of Hell. I was checking the black and white of the Book of Life and Death when I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Bai Vuchain held up the hat on his head and said, "Could it be that little ant? Who else dares to call herself ant in the underworld?" Hei Vuchain said expressionlessly, "Even the King of Hell of the 10th Palace can't do anything to her, so you and I should go out and have a look." So, the black and white impermanence turned into two rays of light, heading towards the source of the sound. "You are so arrogant, Junior, how can you call me Lord Impermanence?" The two shady men were still laughing at her. "What exactly do you want to do? Please make it clear as soon as possible, don't waste time." The next second, they were slapped in the face. The impermanence of black and white appears. As soon as Bai Vuchain saw Pei Anzu, he was immediately blinded by the dazzling golden light of her merits. He cupped his hands and said, "Little ancestor, I've been missing for some time. If you don't stay well in Cultivation Continent, why are you here, and you're wearing such an ugly mask to cover your face? If it weren't for your unique golden light of merit, I wouldn't dare to recognize you." Pei Anzu was confused after hearing this. She should have been struck by lightning and died in the Cultivation Continent, and then she came to this world and possessed the original owner. Why does it sound like Bai Vuchain doesn't know about her death? Black and white impermanence, as a ghost of the prefecture, tens of thousands of years of cultivation, can't see that she borrows her body to return the soul? So, what is the relationship between the continent of cultivation where she was originally located and this world? Are the time flow rates of the two the same? Pei Anzu has doubts in his heart, but it is not convenient to say them out now. She has not forgotten the reason why she opened the ghost gate, so she pointed at Kaiyulian and briefly explained the cause and effect of the matter, and then said, "This century-old resentful ghost continues to linger in the world, which is a serious trouble. I leave it to you. Don't worry, we will definitely bring her back to the underworld so that she can be judged." Bai Vuchain nodded in agreement. "Does the little ancestor have any other instructions?" Pei Anzu wanted to shake his head, but he caught a glimpse of the two shady men dodging and looking guilty. So she complained without any psychological burden. They both looked at each other badly and said that I am just a cat and a dog and I don't deserve to see you. Next time I ask a spy to open the ghost gate, if you two don't have time, send me two knowledgeable people, and don't come with two people who yell at me. You know me, I have a bad temper. If I am wronged and I go to the underworld next time, I will have to pull out the old man's beard. King Yama, he can't do anything to me, but you will suffer." Horse and white impermanence. Threaten. The threat of Chikuakyo. Don't worry, after we return this time, we will immediately conduct emergency training for all the undercover agents. We must let those newcomers know about your great achievements, Hei Vuchain said seriously. As for what kind of great achievements it is, it needs to be explained carefully. When she was in her teens, she dared to go to Huangquan Road alone, cross Nahi Bridge, and run wild in the palace of the King of Hell. She lifted the crown of King Guang of Qin, smashed the seal of the King of Wheels, pulled the beard of King Yama, asked Judge Kui to tell her stories, and gave her a bull-headed and horse-faced mount. As for the Black and White brothers, at that time, he was always running errands for her in the yin and yang realms. Some people may wonder, there are countless evil deeds among the 10 palaces of hell in the underworld. Is it possible that there is nothing that can be done about a little girl in this world? There is really nothing we can do. This little ancestor is the reincarnation of a good man from 10 generations. She is full of merits and virtues, and she is only one step away from achieving perfection, and the dazzling golden light of merits is the natural nemesis of the underworld, ghosts and evil things. How else could she use an ordinary tree branch to disperse a century-old resentful ghost? In a word, this little ancestor is not easy to mess with. Once things are settled, it's time to leave. Black and White Vuchang asked Tu Yinze to tie Kaiyulian with a soul hook. Then he waved his sleeves, the evil wind roared, and the ghost gate disappeared in the blink of an eye. Pei Anzu was suddenly the only one left in house number 144. She packed up the garbage in the yard, opened the door and walked out. She looked up at the sky. The moon had already come out. At the entrance of the alley, her car was still parked there. After Pei Anzu threw away the trash, she got in the car and left. She didn't plan to go back to Shiyungan today, so she found a hotel nearby to stay. Because her work is not finished yet, she made an appointment with adventurer Xiaoying to help him repair the jade pendant. There was also an unexpected encounter. There were some problems at the other party's family, and she was asked to take action. The address had been sent to her. Now that she had accepted the job, she had to rush there as soon as possible. Pei Anzu took off his mask when he stayed in the hotel. The video of her violently beating up ghosts is so popular on the internet, and her iconic Nyo mask is so recognizable. Since she wants to remain mysterious, she still has to hide her identity. Enter the hotel room, she took a shower, lay comfortably on the bed, opened the backend of Dolphin Live, and wanted to cash out the proceeds from today's live broadcast. However, she found that her income had doubled several times. Last time it was only more than 3,000, this time it was 20,000. In addition to the 3 people's fortune, there were also many viewers who gave extra rewards. Especially when she was beating up ghosts, it set off the climax of the entire live broadcast. Pei Anzu clicked the withdrawal button with satisfaction, replied to several people's private messages, made an appointment with adventurer Xiaoying to meet at the hotel tomorrow morning, and fell asleep peacefully. Zhou Ying saw a ghost for the first time in her life, and it was so thrilling that she couldn't sleep at all. She lay on the bed and replayed the live broadcast many times. Her admiration for Pei Anzu increased steadily in her heart, and she almost worshipped her like a god. Early the next morning, Zhou Ying got up, washed up, came to the hotel as promised, and knocked on the door. Pei Anzu had been waiting for a long time. She opened the door. "Come in." Zhou Ying was stunned when she saw Pei Anzu. When she watched the live broadcast, she guessed that King Zhu Immortal would be very young, but she did not expect that the other party would be such a young and beautiful girl. Looking to be about the same age as himself, he is actually a master of metaphysics with superb skills. Zhou Ying's admiration deepened. She took out the jade pendant, handed it to Pei Anzu, and said, "King Zhu Immortal Lord, I'm sorry to trouble you about this jade pendant, please tell me how much it costs." Pei Anzu took the jade pendant and said, "I will burn a small spirit gathering and repairing formation on this jade pendant. The formation uses yourself as the formation eye, and you need to wear it close to your body. Over time, this jade pendant will gradually repair under the nourishment of spiritual power and human body, returning to its previous appearance, and the spirit gathering array can also nourish your body. As for the price, forget it this time. I have something else to ask you for help." Repairing the jade pendant is indeed a separate price, but now that Pei Anzu has someone to ask for, he is naturally embarrassed to charge the other party's money. Zhou Ying was curious, is there anything you need me to do? End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 28. Chapter 28 The Right to Know the Truth. Pei Anzu said to Zhou Ying while recording the spirit gathering formation. I'd like your help writing a story. Zhou Yingfu went to the heart and asked. Is it the story about the female ghost in house number 144 yesterday? Pei Anzu nodded and explained. She died unjustly despite being stigmatized, and the real reason is sad. Although she has harmed others, she should be cleared and let the world know that some things, even after 100 years, are neither good nor evil and cannot be reversed. I'm not saying this to ask you to clear her name. It's just that the world has the right to know the truth. Why did she die and why she became like this? Please help me write it down clearly. The reason why I asked Zhou Ying to help write this story was because Zhou Ying had seen Kaiyulian with her own eyes. Although she didn't hear Kaiyulian tell the whole story about the past, she was still half a party involved. With the live broadcast screen recording as evidence, her words would be more credible. Right and wrong, cannot be erased. It is true that Kaiyulian died unjustly and her resentment persisted, but it is also true that she turned into a ghost and killed innocent people indiscriminately. What Pei Anzu can do is to tell the world about all the good and evil. Let the world, while hating resentful ghosts for harming people and being bloodthirsty and cruel, also feel a trace of pity for this once pitiful girl. At least let Kaiyulian know that her death was in vain, and even after 100 years, people will still remember it. That's all. Zhou Ying nodded solemnly and agreed. Kingzu Immortal Lord, don't worry, I will write this story well, and I will write everything you told me exactly as it is. I wonder if we can add a contact information. When I finish writing, I will send it to you. Pei Anzu paused and said. That's okay, then add WeChat. You will be considered an old customer from now on. Next time you or someone around you encounters this kind of thing, you can come to me again and get a 20% discount. Zhou Ying got her wish and added Pei Anzu's WeChat account, and she was so happy that she couldn't open her mouth from ear to ear. Next, Pei Anzu relayed the story of Kaiyulian to Zhou Ying. By the time the story was finished, the repair formation on the jade pendant was almost inscribed. After sending Zhou Ying away, Pei Anzu immediately logged into the backstage of Dolphin Live. She looked at the message from Encounter by chance, saved the other party's contact information, then packed her luggage, checked out, and left the hotel. Is not from Pingcheng, but from Yuncheng. Pingcheng and Yuncheng are far apart, about 500 kilometers apart. Although the entire distance between the two places is expressway, it still takes 5 or 6 hours to reach the destination by car. So, Pei Anzu chose to take a plane. Before going to the airport, she went to the hospital first and went to the ICU ward to see the old Taoist priest as usual. The old Taoist priest's breathing was steady, his soul gradually stabilized, and it was obvious that he was recovering well. The nurse also said that with the old Taoist priest's current recovery speed, he may be able to be transferred to a general ward in a month at most. Pei Anzu felt relieved. After leaving the hospital, he drove straight to the airport. She abandoned her car in the parking lot, only carried a small backpack with some necessary things in it, and then bought the latest ticket to Yuncheng. Before boarding the plane, she called occasionally and told her that she would come. So, 2 hours later, Pei Anzu got off the plane at Yuncheng Airport and met the driver sent by Encounter by chance to pick her up. The driver was a middle-aged man in his 40s. When he saw Pei Anzu, he looked surprised. Are you the Kingzu Immortal Lord? The expert our wife invited. Before he came to pick him up at the airport, his wife repeatedly told him that this Kingzu Immortal Lord was a very powerful man and that he must be respectful and polite. He originally thought that the master who could make his wife full of praise should be an old man, right? The result is a young girl. Pei Anzu saw the confusion in the driver's eyes. She had no idea of explaining and just said, "It's me, please take me to see your wife now." When she solved the problem that troubled Encounter by chance, these doubts were naturally dispelled. The driver was of high quality. Even though he had doubts, he still obeyed the wife's instructions and was polite and respectful to Pei Anzu. He was not disrespectful because of her young age. Please, the driver bowed and made an invitation gesture. After Pei Anzu got into the car and sat down, he returned to the cab, started the vehicle, moved forward smoothly, and sped towards the destination. Pei Anzu knew that Meet by Chance was a rich man when he was doing fortune-telling before. When you get to the place, you will see how rich the other person is. Junlinchengzia Villa area. Located in the center of Yuncheng, it is quiet in the bustle. It is the best single-family villa area in the entire Yuncheng area. Almost all the wealthy families in Yuncheng live here. Even though there are so many rich people living here, it doesn't look crowded or complicated at all. Because every household has its own territory. Each villa is separated by a green belt. The tall trees in the green belt form a forest, blocking out the sky and sun, which not only beautifies the environment, but also ensures the privacy of the residents. In addition, different roads are planned from the gate of the villa area to different residences. Except for the initial public domain, there is truly one household per road. Those roads are all private property, with guard booths set up, and no one can enter without permission. It took the driver more than half an hour to drive Pei Anzu from the gate of the community to the residence of Ping Shui Yunfeng. When the car stopped, Pei Anzu saw two words written on the outside of the villa. Shenzai. The lady Encounter by Chance whom I had seen in the previous video was standing at the door waiting. As soon as she saw Pei Anzu, she greeted him enthusiastically. "Kingzu, Immortal Lord, you are finally here." As she said that, she subconsciously looked at Pei Anzu, but when she saw Pei Anzu's face, she was slightly startled, with some doubts on her face. Pei Anzu thought that the other party had such an expression because she saw that she was young, so he didn't think much about it. After all, since she came into this world, many people have shown such expressions after learning her identity, such as Kui Yun, Sister Song, and the previous driver. She spoke. "Mrs. Shen, I wonder if Mr. Shen is at home? The main root cause of what happened in your family is still with him, and he needs to be here to solve it." "Yes." Mrs. Shen nodded, "I knew you were coming today, so I told him specifically and asked him to wait with me at home." While saying this, Mrs. Shen led Pei Anzu through the door. The interior decoration of Shen's house is fresh and elegant, which is in line with Mrs. Shen's taste, but it is also low-key and luxurious, worthy of the wealth and status of the Shen family. In the living room, an elegant middle-aged man was sitting on the sofa and making tea. Seeing Pei Anzu, he stood up and introduced himself. "Hello, Kingzu, Immortal Lord, I am Shen King He. Welcome to the Shen family." His attitude was polite and his words were polite, but there was a slight alienation in his eyes. It was obvious that he was being polite to a young girl because of his wife's sake, rather than recognizing her identity as a metaphysician. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune-telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 29. Chapter 29, Cutting off opportunities is like killing your parents. Pei Anzu nodded towards Shen Qinghe and said, "My surname is Pei. You can call me Master Pei or Miss Pei. Since I have met you in my true form in reality, there is no need to call me the name Kingzu Immortal Lord anymore. I was invited by Mrs. Shen to solve the strange things that happened to Mr. Shen recently. Mr. Shen is also a busy man with many things to do. Let's not talk more and get started." Shen Qinghe couldn't help but be stunned after hearing this. Actually, it's not that he doesn't believe in metaphysics, he just doesn't believe in Pei Anzu's age. Even though the other party was live streaming fortune telling and seemed to be quite capable, he didn't think that what happened to him could be solved by a little girl. The reason why he agreed to let Pei Anzu come to the door was just because he had a problem recently and his wife was depressed, so he just followed her wishes and made her happy. However, looking at Miss Pei's attitude now, it doesn't seem like she's half-baked. Shen Qinghe has a lot of thoughts. But as a successful person who has been in the business for a long time, his expression was not obvious. He still politely invited Pei Anzu to sit down, poured her tea, and then said, "I don't know, Miss Pei, how do you want to solve what happened to me?" Shen Qinghe didn't say what happened to him. As far as he knew, his wife didn't tell Pei Anzu in too much detail. He specifically asked the question in an ambiguous way out of temptation. Pei Anzu previously knew Shen Qinghe's horoscope from Mrs. Shen, but now he has seen him in person and has a clear understanding of his fate. Mr. Shen is destined to be rich and powerful. What you encounter this time is just a destined fate in your life. If there is someone to help you, you will make further progress. If there is no one to help you, even if you fall to the bottom, you will make a comeback. However, this is just your life. If you don't handle the things you encounter well, you'll be fine, but it will endanger your family, especially your children. This does not conflict with what Pei Anzu told Mrs. Shen in the live broadcast room before. At that time, she said that improper handling would endanger life, not Shen Qinghe's own life, but the lives of his children. As soon as Mrs. Shen heard this, she immediately became anxious. She was about to speak, but Shen Qinghe stopped her. He motioned to his wife not to speak yet, and then asked Pei Anzu, "Miss Pei, it's not that I don't believe you, it's just that I feel that your alarmist words are no different from those liars who make nonsense under the overpass. They all deliberately make things serious to make people feel anxious, and pretend that there is a way to solve the problem, and then naturally defraud money." Pei Anzu smiled and asked without explaining or arguing. "The strange things happening to Mr. Shen started 2 months ago. Before that, were you involved in some projects that needed to be started?" "So what?" Shen Qinghe asked. The Shen family is not a small household in Yunqing, and it is no secret that the Shen group is involved in the development and construction of the forest area in the eastern suburbs. This kind of thing can be found out as long as one is willing. Mr. Shen was on site when the ground was broken, and in order to show his importance to this project, it was Mr. Shen who did the first digging himself. Pei Anzu asked immediately. "That's true. Is there a problem?" Shen Qinghe was puzzled. He was not the only one present at the time, but also his assistant and the person in charge of the project partner. It was no secret who was the first to take action. Pei Anzu would know, which only proves that she has wide connections, many channels, and well-informed information. It does not prove that she can count. Having determined something, Pei Anzu stopped talking and said, "Of course there is a problem, and it's a big problem. If I'm not mistaken, the place you dug is a fox's cave. There are many intelligent animals in this world. Those who are lucky can use the aura of heaven and earth to transform themselves into animals. Those who are unlucky can only wait for an opportunity in a specific place. The project that Mr. Shen is leading and participating in should be east of Yunqing, right? The vegetation there is luxuriant and the spiritual energy is abundant. The ancestors of beasts once transformed here to survive the calamity. It is the best place for many species that have developed spiritual intelligence to find opportunities to transform. That's what happened to the fox. But when you go down with your shovel and destroy its cave, it is equivalent to destroying its home. And because of the project you participated in, it damaged the surrounding environment, broke the circulation of spiritual energy there, and caused disorder of the spiritual energy for its practice. To that fox, you are the enemy who destroyed its cave and cut off its opportunities. There is a saying in the spiritual world, destroying people's opportunities is like killing their parents. If the fox has made such a big enmity against you, how could it not take revenge on you? So, it has cast a spell on you, making you restless day and night. Do you often have hallucinations during the day? You obviously work in a company, but you often feel as if you are in a huge pit, about to be buried alive, and occasionally you mistake the people around you for foxes. The more important people are to you, the more fierce they are in your eyes, as if they will turn into foxes and eat you in the next second, making you terrified. At night, every time you fall asleep, you will be chased by a group of foxes. You will run away all night, but in the end you will be torn apart by the fox's claws. If things go on like this, you will become depressed and have a bad temper, and you will lose several very important cooperation projects as a result. And you, who has always been gentle, polite, and good-tempered, will vent your negative emotions on your wife and children without control. If this matter is not resolved, your children will run away from home because they can't stand your temper, and eventually die in a car accident on the road, and your career will plummet as a result. Shen Qinghe's expression gradually changed after listening to Pei Anzu's words. From the initial indifference, he turned into serious eyes and frowning. From this expression, he knew that Pei Anzu was right. She not only knew about the development site in the eastern suburbs forest area, but also knew that he had hallucinations and dreams at night. But he never told anyone about this, including his wife. Recently, he has been troubled by hallucinations and nightmares, and his temper has become increasingly irritable. He has said harsh words to his wife several times and lost his temper several times. Occasionally he wakes up from nightmares at night, and when faced with his wife's concerned eyes, he will subconsciously push her away. Because in his eyes, the person around him is not his wife, but a fox who wants to eat him. He has always felt that he has been too busy with projects recently, which has caused him to be too stressed, which is why he is not in good spirits and has developed these symptoms. So he didn't want to worry his wife by saying it. Didn't expect that it was actually the fox who had cast a spell that was causing trouble. And his behavior during this period has also caused misunderstandings in his wife. Just imagine, her husband, who was once gentle, polite, gentle, and considerate, suddenly became impatient with her and even lost his temper. How could she not suspect that he had changed his mind? Under this misunderstanding, Mrs. Shen entered Pei Anzu's live broadcast room. It was only by chance that this event came about. End of this chapter. The real daughter has become famous all over the world for fortune telling. Author, Wang Chris Bone. Chapter 30. Chapter 30 still has a conscience. There was silence for a while in the Shen family's living room. Logically speaking, the Shen couple can be regarded as people who have seen the world. Business people believe in metaphysics and feng shui, and they have met several capable Taoist practitioners. But they did not expect that one day, they would encounter such a thing. After hearing Pei Anzu's explanation, Mrs. Shen was relieved to know that her husband had not cheated on her. Then he remembered that his recent abnormality was due to the curse of the fox, and his heart tightened again. Master Pei, according to what you said, my husband has such a big enmity with that fox. Is there any way to resolve it? My husband developed the project in accordance with the normal process. He didn't know beforehand that there was a fox that was about to become a spirit. Do you want to watch us, our family destroyed? Pei Anzu gave her a comforting smile and said, of course there is a way, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Miss Pei, oh no, Master Pei, as long as you are willing to help the Shen family overcome this difficulty, I, Shen Qinghe, will owe you a favor. Shen Qinghe also changed his mind at this time. In the future, in Yunchinj, anything useful will be. It's my place, please feel free to speak, Master Pei. Pei Anzu looked at the two couples and asked Shen Qinghe, I want to hear your thoughts first. How do you want to solve this matter? Shen Qinghe pondered for a long time and said, I started construction and groundbreaking according to normal procedures. Although I didn't know it beforehand, I did destroy the fox's shelter first. All things have animism. Since Master Pei said that it has developed spiritual intelligence, it must be no different from human beings except for its transformation. If possible, I would like to form a good relationship with it and resolve this enmity. The project in the eastern suburbs is a certainty and must be carried out. It is not my own responsibility. I can stop it if I say it, but I am willing to give it other compensation. Whether I'm looking for another spiritual energy-rich place or have other requirements, I will do my best if I can do it, and I also ask Master Pei to help me with this. After hearing what Shen Qinghe said, Pei Anzu smiled slowly and said, "This trip was not in vain. I saw the right person. When I saw Ms. Shen in the live broadcast room, in addition to seeing that she was supposed to have a smooth life of wealth and honor, I also saw that she was a good person who did good deeds and accumulated good deeds. This is not only the case for Ms. Shen, but also for Shen Qinghe. It is said that businessmen value profits, but there are also conscientious philanthropic entrepreneurs. The Shen family is one of them. For those who have no conscience, after learning that they are cursed by a fox, in order to ensure their own interests, their first thought is to kill the fox. Killing the fox and lifting the curse can also resolve this matter. But this was not Shen Qinghe's choice. His words of making a good relationship and all things have animism let Pei Anzu know that this person has a pure and kind nature, and he deserves to be rich and powerful in this life. Pei Anzu said to Shen Qinghe, "Your choice was not wrong. In fact, the fox also left some room for you." Practitioners pay attention to cause and effect, and pay attention to retaliation. In the eyes of the fox, if you destroy its home, it will destroy your home. If you destroy its opportunities, it will destroy your wealth. But its life is still there, and it will have the opportunity to find another opportunity in the future, so it also keeps your life alive, giving you a chance to make a comeback in the future. In fact, if I don't take action this time, this curse will be automatically lifted after all your children die and the company goes bankrupt. With your character, you won't be able to recover from this. This is consistent with my initial description of your destiny." After hearing this, Shen Qinghe breathed a heavy sigh of relief and said, "Then this is a problem for Master Pei. If you have anything you need to prepare, please feel free to ask. We will definitely follow your instructions." Pei Anzu smiled and waved his hand. "That's not necessary. I have brought everything myself. All you have to do is take me to the place where you are breaking ground. Where there is the scent or hair of a fox, I can summon it. I'm just a middleman. If you want to resolve the grudges, you have to talk it over yourself. Master Pei has come a long way. How about taking a day off and then we go to the eastern suburbs tomorrow?" Shen Qinghe asked. "It's still early today. If you are free today, then go today." Pei Anzu thought for a moment and suggested, "Solve it early and you will feel at ease earlier. After all, curses are not a good thing. If they stay on your body for a long time, it will damage your luck." "Okay, I'll have someone prepare the car right now." Shen Qinghe nodded. "I want to go with you, can you?" Ms. Shen asked Pei Anzu. "Yes," Pei Anzu agreed. Shen Qinghe was very efficient and had the car ready very quickly. He was the same driver who went to the airport to pick up Pei Anzu in the morning. He saw Pei Anzu coming in. When she came out, not only Ms. Shen, but also Mr. Shen also treated her with courtesy, and his suspicion and contempt for Pei Anzu suddenly disappeared. According to Shen Qinghe's instructions, the driver drove them to the eastern suburbs. The eastern suburbs were originally a forest area. The scenery here is beautiful, surrounded by mountains and rivers. Yunqing's municipal department wants to build this place into a tourist attraction and increase Yunqing's GDP. According to the plan, this place will be renovated on the original basis. It is necessary to cut down some trees, build a resort hotel for living, introduce hot springs into the mountain, and make detailed changes while retaining the general environment. This project is very promising, and Shen Qinghe spent some time to win it. At the request of the municipal department, the project started 2 months ago. Now the trees that should be cut down have been cut down and the land that should be bulldozed has been leveled. The environment in which foxes originally lived has been completely destroyed. When Pei Anzu and the others arrived, the construction site was in full swing. Machines and workers took turns taking turns, and dust was flying for a while. The person in charge of the scene thought that Shen Qinghe was here for inspection, and was about to come over to say hello, but saw Shen Qinghe waving his hand, indicating that they didn't need to worry about him. Immediately afterwards, Shen Qinghe took Pei Anzu to the place where he was digging. "Master Pei, this is it. More than 2 months have passed, people are coming and going, and there is sand and dust everywhere. Does the smell of fox still exist?" "Don't worry, it's still there," Pei Anzu said. "Foxes always have a special smell, which is very pungent and long-lasting. That's why humans have a word called, foxy smell. Even though the smell has faded in the past 2 months, it is still there." Pei Anzu took out a piece of yellow paper from his bag, then took out a brush and cinnabar, and drew a summoning talisman, integrating the remaining smell of this place into the summoning talisman. Then, he lit the talisman paper, made a sign, and muttered something. The talisman burned to ashes on the ground, and a plume of green smoke rose vertically, then changed direction in mid-air and drifted into the distance. After doing all this, Pei Anzu found a stone nearby to sit down and greeted others. "You guys should also find a place to sit down and wait. The fox will come over when it sees the call, but if it runs far away, it may take some time to get here." End of this chapter.